If I could, I would live in a cocoon of books stacked 10 high, 20 deep. If I could, I would choose to die amongst books, words swirling around my soul, skeptical of another heaven. All my life, libraries in all forms have been my true church, reading my true religion. This love of reading is my mother's living legacy to me. Newly married and settling down in the sprawling metropolis of Madras, the first thing her husband discovered was that he had committed to a library visit once a week. These were libraries where you paid a small fee per book per day. This expense would find a permanent place in the monthly budget. But riding his scooter to the library with his young wife primly sitting pillion, impeccably dressed in a chiffon sari, her arm wrapped across his hammering, happy heart, the effort and the expense had been worth it. 3 kids later, the tradition continued. Day 1 of summer, my father knew to prepare for the hour-long journey to the biggest and best lending library in the city. We now had a family van, our trusted Maruti Suzuki. We carried with us 2 large jute bags with sturdy wooden handles. They would come back filled to the brim with novels for my mother, Daniel Steele and Mary Higgins Clark, jostling with Stephen King and John Grisham. For us kids, it was Archie and the Gang, Spunky Nancy Drew, and those groovy Hardy Boys. But it wasn't just the lending libraries of Madras that fed my reading frenzy. In the seaside town of Pondicherry, my cousins maintained a small library in their home, stacked with back issues of Reader's Digest, as well as books on the adventures of adolescent girls in boarding schools like St. Clair's, Mallory Towers, and the Alpine Chalet School. Oh, how I longed to be a boarder sharing tuck boxes during covert midnight feasts. When we visited the cosmopolitan city of Bangalore, my other cousins introduced me to Trixie Belden. Trixie solved mysteries around her hometown, Sleepy Side on Hudson. Trixie was klutzy and awkward, but smart and fearless. I related to her growing up. I still want to be here when I'm all grown up. And this series is absolutely why I chose to live in the Hudson, near the Hudson. I came to the United States for my master's degree at Miami University in the bucolic town of Oxford, Ohio. My first winter knocked me near dead. As undergrads stocked up for snowstorms with giant bags of pretzels and 6-packs of beer, I showed up my spirit by heading to the cavernous school library and checking out armloads of books on every subject that had ever caught my imagination growing up. In my cozy off-campus room, I set up a third-hand bookshelf that I lovingly lined with my library books. I racked up substantial fines I had to pay before I could graduate, but it's a small price for 2 years of literary immersion. To date, my most delightful discovery about the US is not the jalapeno poppers from Arby's or the lemon glazed donuts at Krispy Kreme. It is the very fact that public libraries exist. To be part of a community that prioritizes access to books the same as access to water, I do not take this for granted, especially now. My parents taught me well, and I'm trying to do the same for my children. It is now my treasured tradition to visit the local library with my kids. After story time, I read in a rocking chair while they lose themselves in the children's nook. We leave with far too many books to carry. Thank you.